So here's my life today, working on repairing this wiring harness for the Insight. I showed you last time that this is all cut up. So what I've got here is, a lot of the wires put back together. It was just, somebody just cut it like that. So what I've been doing is I've been soldering them back together. So I've got this here soldering gun. It's pretty strong. It heats up really quick. It's really nice for doing wires. You can't, you're not doing circuit board stuff with this, but it's great for splicing wires back together. So I've got, I strip a little section of each wire, and then I clamp them in this 3D printed job that I put together. I found it on Thingiverse and printed it off. And this is ASA filament. The springs are just rubber bands. It's pretty high dollar stuff, but with the right rubber bands on it, it pinches the wires pretty well and holds them together. And then I solder them, and before you do that, you gotta have your shrink wrap on there. So then you slide this up and heat shrink that. So it's sort of tedious, but this will all be taped together real well. This is a pretty reliable way to fix this problem. So I did this section here already. It's maybe a little bit bigger than what it was originally, but it's going to work. So now I've got my injector, my connectors for my injectors are spliced back on there. This splice here is for the coil packs on top of the motor and the current position sensor and all that. So once I get, let's see if I can get this. Once I get this last wire soldered together, I'll wrap this all up like the other section I just showed you. And then I've got this big pigtail. This is the section that would go into the car and connect to this piece here. I think there's a section of the accord harness missing between here and this big wad here, because I don't think it'll reach even in the Insight, so that seems like it's probably shorter than it would have been in the Accord. So my plan, because I'm running a aftermarket ECU on it, is, and I'll show you that in one of these videos, I'm going to get that put together. It's actually a sort of a DIY ECU, a Speeduino, and that's going to be in the original Insight CVT ECU controller case, essentially. I'll show you that at some point here. But so my plan is to use the original CVT transmission connectors, and I think that'll work pretty well. I'll show you what I got brewing, but it'll have a standalone ECU, kind of super budget version of Mega Squirt. It's I don't know, $150 for the whole setup, and it does a lot of the stuff Mega Squirt will do. So a K-series on Speeduino, I haven't seen that done a whole lot. A lot of guys are spending $1,000 on KPro, and then another $250 on the ECU. That's my whole budget basically. So I'm trying to be a little more creative, and to me that's really the big barrier in K swaps is the ECU. Everybody thinks you need to use the KPro. Well, that's fine and good if you're doing something fancy, but if you're trying to do a budget swap, you can pick up motors pretty cheap. And then if the ECU is that expensive and people think that's the only way you can run the engine, I think a lot fewer people are moving from the B series or the D series stuff to the K series stuff, when I think there's a lot of potential there. So I'm trying to kind of document and forge this path a little bit so that people are more comfortable. But we'll see. We'll see if anybody notices or if it matters to anyone besides me. In any case, it's still fun for me to do, so I don't really care. So next time you see this wiring harness, it'll be, you know, more or less complete, and may even be in the car. We'll see. I've been making slower progress lately because it's summer and there's a lot of house stuff to do and vacations and all that. So it is what it is. Here's my big pile of stripped insulation off these wires. I'm going to have a bigger pile by the time I'm done. Yeah, but we're moving along. So sort of tools of the trade here, I can give an overview. I showed you my soldering gun. If you don't have one of these, it's an automatic wire stripper. It grabs the insulation, and it's like one motion to strip the wire. That's how I've done all of these. And it doesn't nip the copper, even on these teeny tiny little wires. So that's pretty handy to have. You know, I've got just a flush cutters, and I've got this multimeter. It's a pretty basic one. I haven't really used anything besides the scissors. There's some other stuff sitting over here. And I'm just using a regular old electrical solder, kind of a bigger diameter one for wires. Has worked well for me. So, you know, I don't have, you know, I'm not spending much money here, but it's moving towards making something. So that's kind of fun. So until next time, there's where I am.